Welcome to our live energy talk. I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you all for coming. And we just had a beautiful little sharing here about how much these daily sacred self meditation sessions that we offer here on Skype for free to anybody. Yeah, there's a schedule out that allows you to see when these live meditations happen. And it's done by our wonderful volunteers here at transCODES and the Sacred Self-Healing community. Today, I want to talk to you about something that is often mysterious for people, but when you talk about it a little bit, break it down into the different levels to which it pertains, it's actually less secret, less mysterious than we think at first. I want to talk to you guys about how to clear our energy field. How to clear our energy field. And you can already hear this, as I always do in these energy talks. I don't just talk about the things that are so difficult for us to talk about, but I also add a little bit of consciousness work to this, that helps us to understand our own way of thinking, our own way of perceiving, our own way of being and perceiving a little better. So let's do this, as always, in a systematic way. Before I share some of these methods to clear your energy field, let's clarify what energy field is, and let's clarify what the word clearing means. So the energy field that we all basically carry around with us, it's the if you will, if you don't just want to look at it from a scientific point of view, but it's what a lot of people call the aura. It's what you emanate as a person. It's very personal, it's very intimate, and some people can see other people's energy fields. I can do this. I help people with energy coaching. I help couples and business owners to learn how to do this themselves. And I teach this to energy healers or professionals who want to integrate energy reading into their existing professions. And there we can recognize that reading out a person's energy field is all about the holistic person. It is not just what they say, how they look, how they express themselves, or what their beliefs and what their sort of thoughts are. It's also about how their energy comes across. The word energy is nowadays a word that we all use in our daily lives. So when we talk about the energy of a person or a place or a situation or even an item, what we are referring to is something that for most of us is still in the unseen, but it is actually measurable. We're tapping into the holistic energy of that item, place, person, institution, or situation that we all are able to tap into. So this is the important message here. Energy field is not just something that we can perceive as professional energy readers or energy healers. Energy field is actually something that we can all perceive. We may not be able to put intellectual words to it. We may not be able to express this in a way that it feels scientific or scholarly in any way, but we can perceive it. We can all feel it. Energy is something that we can all experience with or without words. This is something that we have to establish before we talk about how to clear our energy field, because we have to first remember that it's all about the inner experience of this and not about, the objective, say, X-ray, that other people see the same way. We are talking about something that we are subjectively experiencing due to a an ability that we all have to tap into what something or somebody or a situation feels like to us. So what is that in us that does that, that taps into that? That needs to be clarified at first. I'm talking about a subjective experience, but it's really important to understand that, you know, when it comes to subjectivity, that there is something in us humans, and I want to propose the thesis here that this is unique to us humans, that we have an ability to feel if something is sort of conducive for us, if it helps us in any way, if it feels true to us, if it's supportive to us, or if it feels rather, let's say, poisonous or toxic or restrictive or untrue to us. In science, science knows this, that on a cellular level, we all have a protoplasmic recognition of what is good for us and what isn't. So even single cellular organisms have that. But as humans, we are unique, not just through the protoplasmic ability to tap into what could be potentially toxic to us, but also through feeling into how this, and this is an energetic term, resonates with us, how this supports us. So a single celler is programmed to detect if something is poisonous. Yeah. And when it's poisonous, it's programmed to move away from it. We have more than that. We cannot just feel when something is not good for us. We can also determine if something is actually filling us up with, like, say, love or truth, or if it gives us more freedom. And this is very important to keep in mind here when we talk about energy field, because it is the part in us here that determines whether or not something is, let's say, good or bad for us, that we first need to address when it comes to the clearing. Who of you has ever been in a situation, maybe like a toxic relationship or a toxic work environment, or a place, maybe even a house or a building that turned out to be not good for them? Yeah, who of you have ever had that experience that, whatever situation or partner or work or whatever you would, really isn't good for you? So out of those of you who just agreed, who just showed me the thumbs up, how many of you stayed in this situation, relationship, building, work for longer than you should have? So we may actually have that ability to tune into this and feel this, but there's a part in us that still decides whether we stay or not, because we're not single cellars, we're not amoebas. We are very, very complex in our physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and energetic needs. Did you want to share something about this? The topic of staying in toxic situations longer than we should?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I have tried that. Especially in my younger days, I didn't know how to move myself out of it fast enough. So it took years. Yeah.
So it wasn't the absence of your say, your instinct or
No.
your ability to read this. You knew that it wasn't good for you, but the reason why you stayed longer than you say should have, because it was toxic for you or negatively impacting you or even traumatic for you,
Yeah.
was because you didn't know how to remove yourself.
Yeah. And also, it was a job I had, and I actually had the feeling that I should leave immediately.
Do you
But
remember what
because
made
it
you
was
stay?
convenient, because it was convenient, and I know what
Okay.
I have, and it's good money, and so yeah, I didn't do it.
So this is important here. So there was
Yeah,
a part of you that could feel that it wasn't good for you, but then there was a part of you that overrode it.
Yes.
And you mentioned convenience or comfort. It was a certain level of convenience to just stay and not rock the boat.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
not change anything. Just stay where you're at. So a certain let's say comfort zone. You've probably found good ways to cope with it over the years. Is that so?
Yeah.
How did you cope with it, with this toxic job that you were in?
Yeah, it was. I got a new boss, and I tried to avoid her as much as I could.
Okay,
But
avoiding.
then I did leave because I couldn't take it anymore. But it took some years. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that you're not alone with this. Yeah, as an energy coach, I get to talk to people who are in toxic situations all the time, daily. And this is the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that we, in spite of this part in us that tells us that something is not good for us, we somehow can't muster the courage, or sometimes also just simply the discernment, yeah, to know how to do this. Yeah, do you guys see what the problem is? Have you experienced this in your life as well? Yeah, so you knew it wasn't good for you, but you did stay because there was something in you, a different need, a conflicting need, maybe. Yeah, in what we just heard here in this sharing, it was the comfort, just the convenience of it. But what are some other reasons why we sometimes stay, despite knowing that it's not good for us, whatever the the conditions are?
Isn't it sometimes not fully, at least for me, when I look back, not fully clear that it was that bad? Like it was something that maybe we were conditioned to accept through our life, some sort of negativities in life. So then that comes along, and it's almost like we're numb to it. We don't really pay attention to, oh, wait a minute.
Beliefs and mindsets, right? Could you voice some of those beliefs or those mindsets that we have sort of programmed into our societies? What are the
I think once it gets mental, then you can start seeing it. For me, it would be like more of a feeling, like you're thrown into the cogs of life and you get caught up in how you're supposed to be in school and how this relationship is and how, oh my gosh, of course our parents, so if that's not resolved, then there's like this feeling, you're carrying all these feelings of how life is. And then
so it's basically the mindset about how life is supposed to be. Life is supposed to be hard. Life is supposed to be, it's not an easy game. You're not entitled to happiness. You're not in, you have to
just keep working
hard.
harder. You just keep working harder. Put yourself aside. Don't, of course, somebody's saying meditate. At least that's been my experience. And then, I mean, for me, it was becoming having a mindset about it, being like, oh, I can choose. I want to be on time to work. I want to set down values for myself, not just ones that were exterior imposed.
So you're bringing up a very important point here, that there can be a mindset in us or a belief that can fog this up, that can make us blind to what is not good for us. Yeah. And that mindset can override. Those mindsets are often social contracts or social values. Yeah. It's the things that we grew up with or that we were conditioned with to accept as normal, to accept as that's the way it is. Okay. And as a consequence of this, we form an attitude toward life where, we basically all try to survive life. Yeah, where we just, either try to avoid all the tricky parts, yeah, or try to get better at fighting it or, coping with it in a way that, it's still somewhat okay for us. So we settle for a lower standard in a way, believing that that is what we're supposed to do. The part that is interesting about what you just shared is where you said you didn't even know you had a choice. Okay. So I want to point out here that there are many physical, emotional, and mental health conditions that can make it more difficult for a person to see that. Yeah. So regardless of the conditioning that we may have, There are some situations when we grow up with extreme toxicity or adverse childhood experiences, how psychology calls it. It makes it much harder for us to identify this because our threshold of normal is kind of skewed. Yeah, if somebody grows up in extremely rough circumstances, maybe with a lot of violence or emotional manipulation or physical abuse or all kinds of toxic scenarios, and then it is less likely for that person to identify it as something that is not good for them. And why is that? In fact, here we've heard the part in us that works against us sometimes. It is the part in us that has sort of this idea, the ego part in us that has that idea of or determines what is comfort. Yeah. So unfortunately, our psychology and the ego paradigm behind this is not a good measuring tool for what is good for us, because it tends to accept things that we are used to, yeah, that are quote unquote normal to us as comfort, as predictable, even if it's not perceived as comfortable, but there is a function in our ego, yeah, namely that protoplasmic, very rudimentary function, yeah, that as soon as it knows what the threat is, as soon as it, kind of uh, accepts this as part of the condition, it begins to trying to cope with it. It begins to trying to adjust to it. Now, while this is a really, really cool function of our ego because it allows us to adjust to real terrible circumstances in our lives and survive them, it is often something that can really mess with our perception of normal. And so from, clarifying what energy field is and what needs to be cleared, yeah, what a clearing is, we have now worked our way to better understanding how it even comes that things need to be cleared sometimes, because we can build up this residue of blindness or rigidity or fogginess, yeah, confusion in us that has to do with all these counteracting needs in us, yeah, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, or energetic needs. I'm surprised that nobody here actually pointed out that the reason why we sometimes agree to toxic relationships, conditions, work environments, jobs, etc., is because of our physical need to survive. Yeah, is because of money. I'm surprised you didn't say that first, because this is the main reason why people agree to things. They agree to things that are innately toxic to them because on some level, they believe that that is the only way for them to physically survive, be it, doing the job because they have to pay bills, be it staying in a relationship because they believe that they can't make it on their own, or that they is somehow dependent on the partner or the relationship, etc. Yeah, this also plays into authorities, yeah, like corporations or governments and so forth, banks, yeah, institutions where we believe that we need them. Yeah, and again, we're coming back to what one of you here shared, that sometimes the investigation of whether this is actually true or not, whether we actually have different options, yeah, can be extremely powerful to clear, yeah, this mind fog, to clear these unconscious beliefs. Yeah, but let's go back to what needs to be cleared. Okay, so we've now clarified why it even, or how it even occurs that things sometimes need to be cleared. Yeah, just like how we have to take a shower, brush our teeth, or clean our house on a regular basis. Nobody sits there and contemplates, why does it get dirty in my house? Why do I have to brush my teeth? Unless you're like 5-year-olds. A 5-year-old will inquire, why do I have to clean my room? Why do I have to brush my teeth? Why do I have to take a bath? Okay, but at some point we realize if we don't, well, then it can become pretty toxic. So we've established this now. Yeah, there is a reason to regularly clear something simply because there's a continual residue of something. And as we've also found out, there is sometimes a blindness to it. So we can get used to things. And when we get used to things, we no longer actually tap into this part in us that can provide us with clear information. It gets foggy. All right, so what is a clearing then? The initial question was how to clear our energy field. So what is a clearing? A clearing is on a physical level, for example, when we brush our teeth, when we take a shower, when we actually physically clear our house, when we clean it. Okay, so in the physical, we often talk about cleaning, cleaning out our closet. That would be considered a physical clearing. Other forms of physical clearing are things that have to do, let's say, in when it comes to our own person, detoxing through, either refraining from certain toxins, like flushing them out of our system. We have a wonderful body, a miraculous system that has a phenomenal clearing and releasing systems, our lymphatic system, our digestive system, our skin, our entire system, if you will. You can ask any doctor or naturopath, is fundamentally focused on releasing all the things that are not good for us, excreting them. We have this like wonderful elimination system, and that tells you a lot about your physical health, because one of the things that is mostly underestimated when it comes to physical health is the elimination system that we have in our body. So sometimes it's not the amount of toxins or the lack of nutrients or the lack of things. Sometimes it's simply the lack of elimination. It's the fact that some people just retain too much of this metabolic residue, and that's why a physical clearing, if it's not just washing and cleansing, cleaning, is often very well supported through either nutritional intervention or herbal intervention. Exercise is a phenomenal clearing method, for your body, because it increases the flow of overall energy in your system, and with it also the elimination process. All right, so physical clearing happens mostly through the physical elimination of things. This is very important to understand. Now let's move on to the emotional. How can we do emotional clearing? Anybody, any ideas? How can we clear ourselves emotionally? How do you clear yourselves emotionally from time to time? And stick with me here. I'm talking about emotions.
Dancing.
All right. How does dancing help you to emotionally clear yourself? There's obviously a physical part, so dancing, especially sort of fast dancing, getting you huffing and puffing, has a physical component to it. It also increases your flow and helps with the physical clearing. But how is it emotionally clearing when we dance?
Well, if you're dancing, usually it will hopefully at least be fun. It could raise your energy, feel happy.
Yes, it makes us smile. It makes the whole. Have you ever danced, to something just because the music was so great, or just because it puts a smile on you?
But it doesn't it too, like whether it's a happy dance or maybe somebody's dancing sadly, connect with the emotion a little bit more.
Any emotion is an emotion.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it still makes you happier, if you can cry your guts out because you just watched a terribly sad movie, and you will still feel better afterwards because it allowed you to tap into your emotions and it allowed you to clear them. So another very effective way to clear our emotions is crying.
And singing.
Singing. The singing has multiple clearing effects on multiple levels of ourselves. But besides having fun and engaging into things that such as play and joy, and crying, what are some other really, really effective emotional clearing techniques that you do every day. Just human expressions of emotions are emotional clearing techniques. Yelling at somebody, being angry, showing your disgust, showing your upsetness. Any form of emotional expression is an emotional clearing. Yes, even anger. Yes, even shame. Yes, even pride. Yes, even fear. Expressing your emotions clears your emotions. Talking about them, sharing them, engaging with your emotions, even just writing about them. That's emotional clearing. Let's move on to the next level of self-awareness. Mental. How to clear our mind. Anybody any idea? How can we mentally clear ourselves?
Meditation.
All right, and there's different kinds of meditation. So how does meditation help to clear our mind? Anybody any ideas?
Just the quieting or letting go of thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and since you're answering here, is this easy? To let go of thoughts, to engage into the stillness of the mind?
It's easier every year.
All right, so let's use plain English here. Clearing our mind requires a few techniques, such as being able to even sort of command our mind. Yeah? What is the biggest issue that you guys have with your mind? Spell it out.
Ego.
No?
Ruminating.
Ruminating. Other words for ruminating. What's the biggest issue with your mind? What happens when you lay in bed and you can't fall asleep?
Self-talk.
It keeps going on and on and on and on. You can't stop it, right?
Monkey mind?
Yeah, monkey mind, whatever you call it. But the simple definition of what the problem with the mind is that it seems to have a life of its own. Isn't that right? Isn't that the problem? Whether it's like something that you want to solve in your mind, with your mind, like you have a problem, or you don't have enough money to pay your bills, or you have an issue in your relationship, or you wonder where the world is going, or you have to make a decision and you don't know what's better for you. And it keeps going on and on and on and on, right? That's the biggest problem that we have with our minds. And not to mention all the stuff that comes in from the outside, right? All the new stuff that comes, oh no, and tragedy over there, and drama over there, and the planet over there, and politics over there, and the banks over there, and corona over there, and all that, right? The biggest problem you have is that you cannot command your mind. You have no idea what is going on in your mind. You just experience it as continual and often torturing going ons of your mind, of your thinking. You're not able to command your mind. And guess what? That is what you practice when you meditate. Because one of the simplest versions of meditation is to just simply stop your mind. Yeah? To just be able to stop it. One of the most effective ways, and this is also thanks to our physiology, to do this is to actually focus on our breath. Anybody any idea why focusing on your breath can help you to, in the very early stages, master your thinking. It has to do with our nervous system.
Yeah, the breath enhances, I was going to say, the nervous system and the vagus nerve and things coming out of our brain and taking oxygen to our brain too and our whole body. Then it brings life into the body, the breath. That's
Yeah, so this was a bit difficult to understand, but it was correct what you said. Okay, so first you need to remember that the breath is something that is actually always going on. For as long as you are alive, you will breathe. Do we all agree on that? It is spontaneous. Okay. Your mind is not always going on. It is always going on for as long as you are awake, right? But there are times, for some of you 6, for some of you 8, for some of you 10 hours or even longer, where your mind is not on. Yeah, so you're still breathing in that time. You're still alive. Yeah. So here's one of the first very simple proofs that you are not your mind. Okay. It's very important to understand. Okay, so there is a higher hierarchy to your mind, and that is your actual breathing, for example. There's many higher hierarchies above your mind, but I would try to keep it simple here. So by focusing on your breath, you focusing on what actually sustains you, what actually provides you with, how you just said, with oxygen. Yes, and it also brings oxygen into the brain. But the oxygen in the brain is a secondary issue. The thinking is not just a physical process. It's not just done by neurons and oxygen. Okay, there is more to our thinking, as we all know. If it was just a physical function, all right, it'd be different. Yeah, if we could turn it off or we could control it. So the role of the nervous system here, and you shared this correctly, is to determine where our attention goes. Do you guys see why I'm differentiating here between the brain, the thinking, and the attention? Those are 3 different parts in us. So if we focus on our breathing, all right, we are taking our attention away from our mind. And as we're doing that, often we can feel our bodies more. So there's also a physical clearing component of breathing. That's why all yoga techniques and pretty much all healing techniques are linked to breathing. Yeah, to breath work. It's very, very important. Because our frequency of breathing, our depth of breathing, and so forth has a lot of effects on our physiology and our emotions and our mind. So mental clearing techniques, guys, should always start with breathing. And as you do this, you can obviously support this with physical exercises such as yoga or, stretching or sitting in a certain position or not. But as you're doing this, you can experience your own mind slowing down. And these different meditation techniques are there to help us shift our focus from here to there, to train this, to train to master or command our thinking, so that we can, in times where, for example, our mind goes overboard. Yeah, you already mentioned a few scenarios or a few ways in which our mind can go overboard, in which it can overtake our whole entire system. Yeah, such as ruminating. Yeah, ruminating is a form of, like not being able to shut the same often negative self-talk off. There are mental health conditions, and most mental health conditions actually have to do with this self-talk and the inability to command your mind, your thinking, the thinking process. That can lead to severe other issues, as you know. For example, anxiety. Yeah. When you keep thinking about the same fearful scenario, or you keep imagining the same fearful scenario, a lot of issues between humans, anything from, the inappropriate or toxic expression of your emotions. Yeah, I said here in the emotional clearing section that any expression of emotions helps you to emotionally clear, but not all of them are good or appropriate or, good for others. Yeah, so you running around yelling and, just venting your anger off, yeah, may help you to emotionally clear, but may do something to somebody else, right? So here we have the connection with, the supervision of some of our physical and emotional expressions that should take place in our thoughts, in our values, in our mindsets. And here now we realize, as we found out in the beginning, that our mindsets and the way we see things, and sometimes along with this, our ability to see things clear and think about things clearly is often impaired or confused or foggy. This is why we need mental clearing from time to time. And this is why most experts, most scientists, most healers, most therapists, even most doctors in this world agree on this, why we need this, mindfulness or sort of mental, clearing through contemplating, through meditating, as a way to once in a while clear this out, clear out the thoughts. Now, the thoughts are the product of the thinking process. And as we're coming to the next level of self-awareness, namely the spiritual level of self-awareness, which is not all just, religious or, mystical in nature. Spiritual is pretty much anything that has to do with the greater context, with the beliefs that you have, with the canvas on which your life paints itself on. That has to do with your values and your virtues and what you subscribe to. Basically, your choices, the culmination of all your choices. And the problem with that, with the spiritual, is that for as long as you can't really master your thinking process, you cannot be fully aware of the thoughts that are being spit out as a consequence of this thinking process. So take anxiety. What is the consequence or the result of an anxious thinking? Anybody know what the product is, what the kinds of thoughts are that come out of an anxious or victimized or, let's stay with anxious and fearful. What are the thoughts that a mind that thinks in an anxious way produces?
That others are against you, the world are against you.
Yeah, sort of hostile thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but underneath the hostility is something else. Fear. An anxious mind produces fearful thoughts. What do fearful thoughts, fearful and hostile or, defensive thoughts, what kind of beliefs and mindsets do they produce?
Downgrading and kind of taking away
Mindsets and beliefs. What is the belief behind that? What is the belief that follows your fearful thoughts?
that we are not enough to handle or to act or
That could be one of the belief underneath that. Mm-hmm. The other one.
Yeah, powerlessness.
That one is powerless. That is a belief that can follow continual fear thoughts. Yeah, one is not good enough. One is powerless. The world is hostile. What else? Everybody's against me. Life is hard. There is no hope. All humans are evil. Life is hard. Yeah, we had that already. Those are the kind of beliefs and values that are being produced by fearful thoughts. So let's talk about spiritual clearing. What needs to be cleared?
Fear.
Fear is obviously always behind everything that needs to be cleared. That's correct. But it's important that you understand that when it comes to spiritual clearing, now we're not talking about some woo-woo stuff here. What needs to be cleared first and foremost on the spiritual level is the beliefs underneath any kind of spiritual thoughts that you have. And when I say cleared, I don't mean eradicated or, canceled. What I mean is it needs to be cleared. What are you actually believing in? With those thoughts that you're putting out here, with those beliefs about yourself and the world. That is what needs to be cleared. Your spiritual needs are to know what it is that you believe in and the values that are behind that. And I'm telling you, 90% of people have no clue. They are completely unaware behind their spiritual understanding that there is a fearful thinking behind that. And often, also propagated by institutions or New Age or, churches and so forth. Yeah. That we need to be fearful. That we're powerless. When it comes to spiritual clearing, the first thing that needs to be cleared after we cleared our beliefs, and cleared means clearing it up, becoming aware of it, become aware of what you are putting out there here as attitudes and beliefs, is if that's really what you want, if that is really what you're choosing. Why? Because the way our spirit works is that it gives us the choice. We have the freedom. We have the power to choose how we want to see ourselves, how we want to see ourselves in this world. And the spiritual clearing is clearing that up and consciously choosing. And the last aspect of clearing our energy field is clearing our energy. And our energy, we defined this in the beginning, is the culmination of all these others, right? How do you think? Or what do you imagine? Or maybe some of you can read energies and know this. What does the energy field of a very anxious person who keeps ruminating, who has a very negative inner self-talk, who does not take care of physical, emotional, mental clearing on a regular basis and is unaware of their spiritual attitudes and values? What does that energy field look like? Does anybody know?
Contracted and fragmented.
Any other words, any other descriptors that you can come up with? Yes? Mm-hmm. More.
Restricted.
Okay, restricted, contracted, same word. Mm-hmm. More than that. Squished.
Yeah, small. Yeah.
Small, poor. Ugly. It looks ugly, guys. Because fundamentally, the anxious thinking and these fearful thoughts that are the result of the anxious thinking and the negative perspective on self, on the world, and oneself in this world, those are ugly thoughts, guys. And they produce a lot of ugly energy. They produce a lot of ugly residue in a person. I think this was enough to digest here to recognize why there even needs to be clearing and what it even means to clear an energy field. And since any of these techniques that I already mentioned, from breath work, meditation, taking a shower, dancing, joy, engaging in things that help you shift your emotions, that help you express who you truly are, that help you to clear up your mental fog, that help you to make better choices. Yeah, all these things together, can be called energetic clearing. And energetic clearing can help you to clear your energy field of all this residue temporarily. Yeah, just like a shower only clears your body temporarily. If you want to clear this permanently, if you want to actually elevate yourself into a higher state of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and energetic wellness, health, and abundance, you're going to have to come up with ways to be able to command this a little better. Just like how any doctor will tell you, hey, if you want to be able to be healthy, okay, you're going to have to command what you eat, how much you exercise. You're going to have to be able to command your body. Yeah. And if you want to have healthy relationships, yeah, relationships that are permanent, that are happy and sustainable and based on true love, you're going to have to work on your emotional expression. And if you want to have a mind that is clear, that can make good choices, that can think its own thoughts, that have good insights so that you can continue to grow in your life, you're going to have to spend some time with working on clearing your mind on a regular basis. And if you want to have a mature spiritual understanding, you're going to have to clear all your beliefs and all your unconscious mindsets and thoughts that are determining your beliefs until you are truly in a place where you can experience love and beauty and freedom and truth from within. And that, the culmination of all these things, not just the, smudging the house and, rattling some seed pods and collecting crystals around you. Those are all good things. They're all great for, some, attention shifting for you. Yeah. And collecting things that can support you. Yeah. It's not just taking walks in nature and connecting with plants and animals and the beauty that is in this world. It's also connecting with other people, connecting with their hearts, connecting with all the beauty, all the things that are so phenomenal and unique and miraculous about us humans and our divine consciousness that resides in us, that clears you. And fundamentally, who has, really gone through this initiation process and learned how to do this on a regular basis, doesn't actually have to do a lot anymore, because their mindset, their beliefs, their emotions, their bodies, their thoughts become so cleared, that they can see truth out plain as day. With every little situation, with everything that they're experiencing. And being able to see truth, to discern truth, is the biggest power that we have as humans. And so with that, I would like to close. I hope that this is not too much here. Maybe I have to break it down in smaller chunks, because ultimately, there's no shortcut, guys. It's all of it together. All of it together. And meditation, as we offer this here in our daily sacred self for free online every day for people, or meditating on your own, or listening to music, or watching meditation videos, anything like this. Yeah, I give out a free energy alignment every month, a gift for you that is attuned to the collective energy field of this month. Yeah, just listening to that 20 minutes every day. Yeah. Clears your energy field. But if you want to learn how to do this yourself, then you're going to learn that there is no shortcut to this. You really have to go through all these different layers of who you are, to clear up the fog. So thank you so much for coming here. Please share the videos, share our daily sacred self meditations, and tell everybody about those energy talks. They're also for free. And stay conscious. Bye-bye.